What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sam Navajas podcast. We are finally back, and we are here to talk about, break down, predict UFC 300. I'm so excited for this card. Long awaiting. The first fight announced for this card was Bo Nickal versus, forgetting his name off the top of my head. Bo Nickal versus Cody Brundage. Don't mean no disrespect there, but that was announced last year, December, November, about then, since then. But now, let's start off with the early prelims. First fight we have on the card, Cody Garbrandt versus Deiveson Figueiredo. Of course, this is Deiveson Figueiredo's second bantamweight fight since moving up. He beat Rob Font his last fight by decision. Cody Garbrandt is on a 2-fight win streak, and it's tough to say. Cody Garbrandt's chin is kind of not really all there. It's kind of being held up by duct tape at the moment, but I think it's going to be a slugfest between these two. I think they're going to go at it. A lot of pressures in this first fight. It's to start off UFC 300. It's two former champs. There's a reason why they put them together here to start off the early prelims to get everybody invested, and I think they're going to try to put on a show. And I think Cody Garbrandt's going to do that and catch Deiveson probably with the TKO KO win. So I got Cody Garbrandt winning the first fight. Next, we got Bobby Green versus Jim fucking Miller. Of course, as you know, as they've been saying every single press conference, Jim Miller, UFC 100, 200, and now 300. And Jim Miller's on he has a little bit of a win streak right now. And I think he's riding on that. Of course, this is the battle of the old heads. Bobby Green, has won only one out of his last 5 fights, and then got TKO'd, got absolutely destroyed against Jalen Turner, who we'll talk about in a bit. But here I got Jim Miller. Why not? For him to get that UFC 300 win, he definitely needs it. Keep the fight streak going. Keep him, maybe for a title or just to get up there in the rankings, hopefully. Next fight we have Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. Don't really know too much about Marina. Know she's, another Brazilian. She's probably going to want to go to the floor. But Jessica Andrade is a freaking monster. She's got hands. She can grapple. Last fight, she TKO'd Mackenzie Dern. And she's going to do whatever it takes. I think whoever wins this fight could potentially be next for a title fight, or at least in the conversation to get a title fight. And then last fight of the early prelims, Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano. He wants his money. I'm really excited for this fight. But for Moicano, I'm not too excited for this, because he is taking this on short notice, because whoever was before had to drop out of the fight. But this is going to be exciting. He says he wants money. He doesn't think that he'll get the bonus, but he's going to do whatever it takes. He's going to put on a show. He wants to finish. And Jalen Turner, him and Dan Hooker, this last fight was that was a banger right there. Them going back and forth at it. And I've been really going back and forth who I think is going to win this fight. I was first thinking Moicano, but I think the short notice is going to bother him a bit. I think it's going to be a really good fight, but I have Jalen Turner winning it all, ending the early prelims. And we're going to have this each single card, early prelims, and the main card. We're going to have the fight of that card. So here, the fight of the early prelim that I think is probably going to be Jalen Turner versus Moicano. I think that's going to be the big fight to watch, the more exciting fight. And then next, to move on to the early prelims. To start off, we got Sodiq Yusuff versus Diogo Lopez. Of course, Sodiq is got amazing power, good striker. I think he can survive enough on the ground. He's able to counter and get out of moves, but the last I can't remember his last fight. I was just watching it. He got caught in a lot of leg locks, but was barely able to escape from it and barely able to get out of it. Just able to survive. But in the later rounds, of course, he gets away with it, because this is going to be a 3-round fight. It's not going to be a 5-round fight. His last fight was a 5-round fight, And towards the later rounds, he kind of started slowing down, started lean. He got really tired because he kind of goes at it, but just full throttle. In the first few minutes, because he has the power. He's a good striker. He has the knockout power to be able to put someone to sleep. But his opponent, Diego Lopez, I mean, he has Mexican style like striking. Of course, that's with him being in the same camp and training with Alexa Grasso, and of course, he's just a monster on the ground. And I think that's what's going to be here. But the only negative I have to say about Diego Lopez is when he is in the clinch, when he's together, he tends to leave himself pretty exposed, lets his opponent get a few hits, and that can really hurt him, especially with the power that Sadiq has. But I think at the end of it, I got Diego Lopez winning this fight. And the next, we have Holly Holmes versus the debut of Kayla Harrison. I'm really excited for this fight. Everyone's really trashing on Kayla Harrison. Of course, she's coming from PFL. She's a judo master, one of the best of all time. And she's getting the comparison to Ronda Rousey because, yes, she does have the same point. She's going to strike and just try to grab you and pull you down to the ground. But I think that's exactly what she's going to do with Holly Holmes here. And I think she's going to absolutely destroy Holly Holmes, which is crazy to say because Holly Holmes is a legend in the UFC and legend in the game. Of course, no disrespect to her. But I think with this Kayla Harrison win, with the UFC's hoping is her to dominate Holly Holmes and maybe just have an Alex Pereira type, quote unquote, type of push. Like maybe she gets one more fight against another top 5 bantamweight. And, we see what's going to go on with Raquel and Juliana and have her pick of the winner unless whoever she calls out at the end of the fight when she wins. Spoilers, I have her winning, but I can't wait to see how this sets up Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison to set up her future in the UFC, to see how fast they're going to try to push her to a title fight if she does dominate Holly Holmes. If it's, they're back and forth, it just ends up being decision. How much slower is it going to be to end up, trying to get to the goal with which she wants to go to. But that's definitely a fight to watch out for. Next, Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain for Sterling's first fight moving up. I'm really excited for this. Listened to a lot of interviews and a lot of stuff he said. He said he's had to, he feels a little bit more free. He's able to live his life a little bit better. He said with the old weight cut, he had to feel like he had to be down to where he's at, where he would be at cutting weight. And it'd be much harder for him to cut the weight. But he's able to. I think yesterday I listened to the press conference and he said he was about 155-ish, maybe a little bit lower than that. But I'm excited to see him. I feel like he's more free. He has that O'Malley stuff out, off his shoulders and just start a new journey and hopefully move up in the rankings here. But Calvin Kattar is not no one to mess with. I thought they would give Aljamain maybe a little bit someone higher in the standings, but it is what it is. I think Aljamain Sterling does what he does, he just needs to take care of business, hopefully move up in the standings and, make the division, I'm blanking here, but make the division more complicated, put some more contenders on there, make some more big fights. That's what I was trying to say. But Calvin Kattar, 1 out of his last 4 fights, and of course, losing to Arnold Allen and then having that horrible fight against Max Holloway, but I think that's all in the past. Different fighter since then. Hopefully, he could pick it up, and this is an interesting fight. But I got Aljamain Sterling winning this fight. Next, Yuri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. Alexander Rakic. The only concern I have about Alexander Rakic, because of course with these light heavyweights, it's just pretty much whose chin is strong enough, who has the better ground advantage, who's able to take a few more hits. But with Alexander, he's almost 2 years of not competing, and his last loss being against Jan Blachowicz, of course. But I think the 2 years and him being off just it's kind of a big concern for me. He says, the interviews and stuff like that I listen to with him, he says it does not bother him, that it feels like 5 months, which makes no sense. It's almost 2 years and you're telling me it feels like 5 months to you. I don't know about all that, but Yuri Prochazka, of course, his first fight since losing the belt, and I think he might feel disrespected in this one. He's going to try to show out here. Not only that Alexander is calling him a fake samurai and all that stuff. But I feel like he feels disrespected that he's on the prelims, that he's ending the prelims, and that the main card, the main event was for his belt against the guy he was supposed to fight against the guy who beat him. But of course, he wants to put on a show, and maybe this fight will potentially be who's next for Alex. Maybe not right away, or next for Alex or Jamal, but I think Yuri Prochazka is going to win this fight and put himself back into contention to be in that title fight against whoever the winner is, Alex, Jamal, or maybe even somebody else. And then now, let's move on to the main card. Starting off, almost forgot. Fight of the prelims: Yuri Prochazka versus Rakic. I think that's gonna be chaos right there. Now, let's get to the main card right here. Bo Nickal versus Cody Brunges. This is Bo Nickal's biggest test right here. I feel like everybody's looking over Cody, which the way his UFC career has gone, I understand, but also he is a legit UFC fighter. He's got knockout power. He is not as good as a wrestler as Bo Nickal, but he definitely has experience and can hold up his own. But hopefully Bo Nickal can take this test and show that he can climb these levels and go up and go up. And maybe hopefully we can get a top 15, maybe, around that range fight to slowly push Bo Nickal up the rankings, which I'm excited to see. His striking will be tested, and I want to see how much he relies on the ground game and how fast he's going to try to end this fight. And next fight we have Charles Oliveira versus Arman. Sorry, I'm proud. I don't want to butcher it too much, but Tsarukyan against Arman. But Charles Oliveira, to me, is the most dangerous male fighter in the UFC right now. At least one of. His only loss recently was to Islam, of course, losing the belt and all that. Some people thought it might have been Beneil to take him off, and he's just showing that he's back. He's going. He had a dominant title run. He happens to lose to one of the most dominant champions right now in history, in Islam Makhachev. And for Arman, doesn't really have much to say also. His last loss, 2019, he lost to Islam too. In 2022, lost to Gamrot. And, his last fights has been by KO. Of course, this is going to be a slugfest. But I don't think, and I don't mean no disrespect to Arman, great striker, great on the ground, but he plans to, finish this fight early, finish Oliveira in the first round. I don't think his striking, his punching is as dangerous as Justin Gaethje was. And we saw that Justin Gaethje-Charles Oliveira fight. We saw how that went. Of course, Arman's ground game is most likely better than Justin Gaethje's. Depends on who you're asking. But I think Charles Oliveira wants that revenge. He feels like Islam Makhachev is looking over him. It seems like Dustin might get the next title fight. It may seem like that. Justin might get it, or Max might get it, whoever wins in this BMF title. And it was his belt. He never got the rematch. He had to step out because of the big old cut that he got over his eye. And, it feels like that they're trying to jump over him. But I think with this fight here, it's going to show that he's next. And it's his time to get his belt back, or at least try to get in the conversation of that. Arman, I just think this might be a little too much. They're feeding him. It might be too much on his plate right now. But you never know. He could shock the world. I wouldn't be too surprised how he's finished all his past fighters. But it could be a little too much to bite off for him. But here, I got Charles Oliveira winning. In the next fight, my favorite fight. Unfortunately, two of my favorite fighters. One of them, my most favorite fighter, Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. For Max, how in the world does he avoid Justin Gaethje's power? How does Justin Gaethje be able to adjust to Max's speed and him just throwing a bunch of punches? Because Max is going to throw a whole bunch of punches and try to get out of the way, and Justin Gaethje is going to he's been fighting a lot smarter, but he's going to try to get a finish. This is UFC 300. He's like, I want to get this finish. Everybody's saying Dustin's next. but I'm trying to jump Dustin Poirier. I beat him. I think I should be next for the title fight. But Max Holloway, him moving up, he's made some adjustments from his last time he tried to move up against Dustin. Obviously, that didn't go the way he wanted to. But I think him moving up, him having a chip on his shoulder, saying, you know what, I feel disrespected. This guy in my original weight class doesn't think I could do it, but I'm finally moving up and fighting the guy who's the guy to beat to get me to another belt. And I think that's what he can do right here. I have Max Holloway beating Justin Gaethje. Maybe in a little bit unpopular opinion, but that's who I'm going with. I'm going with Max. Weili Zhang versus Young Joanna. Chinese versus Chinese fight. I think this is the first one ever. Championship. Both competitors from China. I'm being honest with you right here. Weili Zhang is the most dangerous women's fighter in the UFC right now. She could pretty much do it all. Power, ground game, and she's pretty much dominated everybody that she's fought and gone, that we've put in front of her. And I think right here, just there's no difference. Of course, Yan, she'll put up a fight. She's a little bit taller than Weili and try to use that size to her advantage, but I think Weili's just the way more well-rounded fighter right now, the better fighter, more experienced, has that, championship charisma and all that going for her. So I got Weili going right here. And next, the main event. Oh, man. I've been going really back and forth about this fight. Jamahal Hill versus Alex Pereira. Let me say what I think about Jamahal. Jamahal obviously did not lose his belt. He had to relinquish it because of the torn Achilles, and that worries me. Because he was gone, I think they said 15 months, but the recovery and the surgery, and of course I don't want him gone forever, but I think I'm just worried that he might have taken this fight at 80%, 70%, maybe even 90%, but you're going against Alex Pereira, who is an amazing kickboxer, an amazing striker. And you have Jamahal Hill here saying on his YouTube channel that he's not going to take him down. He's like, you guys hype him up on the ground. You guys hype him up that, he's the best striker and all that stuff. I'm going to stand with him. I'm going to knock him out. Which is, if he can do it, respect to him. He's also one of my favorite fighters in the light heavyweight division. And, sad, I was really upset and sad to see that he got hurt. But I'm just hoping that he's, close to 100%, more 100 than, 80, 70%. Because Alex Pereira right here, this is what he's going to do. If he knows, he's going to aim for that leg. He's going to aim for that Achilles. And I know everybody's going to get tired of it. Everybody's going to get annoyed of it. Because all we're going to hear is leg kick after leg kick this, leg kick that. But that is what Alex is going to do. Because what he does is leg kick, and that sets him up for everything else. The leg kick sets up, everything else. He sets up the body shot, sets up, for the headshots, try to end the fight. Obviously, none of these guys, I think I would take a line. If it was like over one takedown, I think I'd take the one. But if it's like 1.5, I'm taking the under most likely on that. But Alex Pereira relies on his leg kicks and the way he is so fast and so sneaky with it. I think this is what he can do to take advantage. And you know what? He might do? He might even target the other leg that was, not the Achilles. He's like, you know what? I'm going to destroy this leg just for you to rely and lean on the leg with the Achilles. And the power of both these guys is insane. Of course, Alex, with the video coming out of him hitting the big meter and him breaking Ngannou's record of hardest hitting punch. But I've been back and forth about this. I have no idea who I really want because I would like both these fighters, but I got to make a decision at the end of the day. And I got Alex Pereira winning this fight and retaining the championship belt. But I got one more thing about this. I am not as worried about Alex this fight than he is possibly in him competing in UFC 301 because he says that he wants to do it. He says no matter what that he wants to compete, and if he wins, compete in UFC 301 because that is Brazil, his home country. he'll fight whatever. I think I'm more concerned about him in that fight to see what damage he takes in this fight. Because Jamal Hill, at the end of the day, hurt, not hurt, whatever it is, he is no joke, no slouch at all. He's gonna, we saw what he did to Johnny Walker, and that's why that's why I kind of hope for Alex that he doesn't do UFC 301, but whoever it is, if he wins and goes to UFC 301, I hope it's a little bit of a cakewalk. Because if you're saying UFC 301 and we're going to give you Ankalaev, that's a little bit tough. Or you know what? If Yuri's fine, we'll give you Yuri too. I'll be fine with that. But it's still a tough road, especially with, I wouldn't mind Yuri more if Alex wins, because both of them come around the same time, just of course both of them with health and recovery and stuff like that. But that is the end of the predictions and breakdown of UFC 300. I'm going to try to be more active and drop more longer videos like this. We will be having an NFL mock draft soon. We are trying to reach 500 subscribers, so make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next time. Peace.